It was Jenna's birthday recently. I said, what do you want? She said, just some me and you time. Take me somewhere beautiful, bring me home exhausted, and I'll be happy. She's not very happy now. This video is sponsored by Squarespace. I've done lots of videos where I run something pretty tough that I don't really prepare for. And I still do okay. But people often say, well, of course you do, because you've got an underlying level of fitness, you do run quite a bit. It would be very different if you were doing these hard runs back when you first began your running journey. There's nothing I can do about that. I can't go back in time. Which is a pity, because I think if you have even a reasonable level of underlying fitness, you can actually get your body to do a bit more than you thought it could, even if you've not done much of it in the past. I thought I'd see somebody that isn't much of a runner, doesn't work out that much, to come and do one of these runs with me, even though it might actually not be very sensible. It's my wife. And so my plan on that run a couple of days ago now was for one of two things to happen. Either, as I just described there, I'd be able to show that somebody average could get round a tough endurance event without serious problems, or they couldn't. I'd have to somehow then turn my wife getting medevaced off the top of a mountain in a helicopter into a positive story.
It's breaking, she's losing it.
So here's the deal, Jenna is not a runner. I'll describe in a bit more detail her fitness background, or lack of it, later on. But in short, fitness to Jenna, it's like tidying up the house to me. I get it needs to be done sometimes, but I don't really see the point of going overboard on it. If it's skipped for a couple of weeks, does it really matter? Which actually makes her perfect for this little experiment. We are setting off here at the start of a run I've done before in 2020 with Nixon. It was one of the best runs I'd ever done. Stunning scenery, tough climbs, fast descents, challenging course, and we did all right. Nixon got first dog. I was 23rd out of 73 humans. As a larger, heavier person that doesn't really specialise in running, certainly not running distances, I was really happy with that result. By the way, going to give you plenty of details on the course as we go, but here we're just over 1 kilometre in and we're pretty much at the back, as I expected we would be, but keeping up with this little group in front of us. And to give you an idea of my expectations on this day, still having others in sight was genuinely exciting at this point. So since I first ran this race a couple of years ago, I've done a couple of others organised by the same people, Limitless Trails down in Wales, and they are always brilliant. But they've all been way tougher than any local 10k trail run type thing I might do normally. Despite that, every time I've said on here, go try one or go try something similar. Spend some hours pushing yourself, see what you can achieve. You might be surprised, and don't be put off if you're not that good a runner. If you can do, say, a 5k park run, go have a go. And at the back of my mind is often this slight concern that I might be sending park run newbies to an inevitable death.
You're not gonna die.
So I thought I'll convince my wife to come and run one with me. She's done a couple of park runs herself, although I think the last one probably was around 2020 for her. If she makes it around alive, I'll feel better suggesting that others should try it. If she doesn't, I can stop telling others to go and try it. Although, to be honest, at that stage, that's probably the least of my worries. Her mum, for a start, would go nuts. So we just got to the top of the first mini hill, which was pretty tough actually. We've now got a little downhill, Jen's off, and then we got the big one, which is going to be interesting. I'm trying to reserve energy. Jen is not. So this course is 34.9 kilometres, it's about 21.6 miles, but with 4,400 feet of climbing, or about 3 Empire State Buildings, and no one outside selling hot dogs. There are 4 hills, 2 in the first half, a little one that we just done and Jen ran down so fast that by the time I get to the bottom, I can't see her, and then the crazy big one. About 2 kilometres back, I said to Jen 2 bits of advice: keep the pace steady and nibble on your food as you go. She then told me that she'd forgotten her food and is now fucked off. This is maybe 6 kilometers in. That is already a pretty long run for Jen. I now don't know if it's going to be exhaustion from running too fast or hunger because she forgot to bring her biscuits that is going to get her first. Luckily, she takes a breather so I can actually catch up before we go up the hill together.
I think we're about nearly 8k in. So what's that? Quarter of the way. Quarter of the way. Dog's looking good. Wife's looking good. No problems. Let's go, buddy. Go, 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 go. Go, go, go. Go, go, go. Go on, buddy. Good boy. Let's go. Let's go run.
I actually had no concerns about Jen actually reaching the top. We'd done a trail run together over Christmas and that was 10k and pretty hilly. It was Jen's longest run ever, and although she had to walk a lot of it, she finished it. So getting to this point, I expected no problems, but having done a few of these now, I know that it's not so much what happens to you in the first part of the race, but more about how the effects of what happens to you in the first part impacts on what's to come. So getting to the top, not a surprise, but I was surprised that Jen was happy to run now that the ground had leveled off. We'd overtaken a few people going up that hill, and while it's important to run your own race and not worry too much about people that are around you, it is also nice to know that you are in the race. We're towards the back, but with people just behind us that will hopefully keep us motivated to not get past, and with people just ahead of us that we can hopefully chase down. We are running a race.
Can't keep up down here.
Now here is where I started to wonder if this video was going to actually turn out to be something a bit different from what I'd planned. Over 14k in and coming up on 2.5 hours. Jen's never run this far or this long before, and she is flying down the hills. She was leaving me behind, not because I was pacing myself or taking it easy, because I could not keep up. She was just happily disappearing. And while I was trying to get my head around that, I also started to look at the clock. We had 3 targets for this race, as I do for all my events. The unrealistic, but wouldn't it be nice target, 6 hours. The challenging, but possibly doable target, 7 to 7.5 hours. And let's make sure it's no worse than this target, 8-hour cutoff. At the bottom of the hill is a checkpoint, and then 2k after that is the halfway point in distance and time. And given that we're going to be at that checkpoint just after 2.5 hours gone, we are going way quicker than I thought we would.
Oh man. Okay, checkpoint at the bottom, where hopefully she'll wait for me.
Oh. She did wait for me. Okay, before we get into the second half, where things get really interesting, one of the things worth mentioning, the right kit and good planning is always important, but even more so if you are a bit new to an event like this. It is super reassuring to just know that you have the right gear for the job and that most problems that might crop up are going to be covered. There's a required kit list for a race like this anyway, so we were carrying first aid kits, waterproofs, foil blankets, torches, stuff like that. Basically all the kit and the prep was top notch, and that does help. It's certainly just one less thing to worry about. The only thing Jen was in charge of was making sure that she had her own nutrition, because she didn't want to eat the gels and the flapjacks that I use for mountain fuel. I love them, she hates them. But because she'd not remembered them and left her stuff in the car, she's running on water only and some jelly babies that she'd picked up from the checkpoint. But even then, because we had the right gear, we're using, for example, Bix Electrolyte tablets in our water that I love. You just drop one into your water bottle each time you fill it up and you're good to go. And I had plenty of extra food. We're fine. If she doesn't like flapjacks, she'll eat one before she starves, probably. And regarding kit, if there's anything you see me using in any of my videos, you want more details on it, you're probably going to find it on the website. And talking of the website, a huge thank you to Squarespace, who are once again sponsoring the video, which is awesome of them because it literally helps the videos get made. And because my website is a Squarespace website, I'm really happy to say that if you want one, you should go and check them out. Jen and I, mostly Jen, went from knowing nothing about websites to now being easily able to upload stuff to ours, changing things on there, playing around with the layout and the font, the colors, the look of it. You just start off by picking one of their templates, which they've got loads, and they just tweak it as little or as much as you want to make it the way you want your website to look. Having been put off getting a website for months because it just seemed like a hassle, to be honest, this has been brilliantly simple from start to finish. And it's not just the website stuff. We're going to start using their blogging software soon to do a blog. You can do e-commerce stuff with them, you can find a domain, transfer a domain to them, and all so simply. So if you have a hobby or a hobby business, you need a website for that, or you just want somewhere to show off your photos, your videos, your thoughts, go check out squarespace.com for a free trial. And then when you want to launch your own awesome website, go to squarespace.com/MarkLewis for 10% off. So again, big thank you to Squarespace, and go have a look at what we've done with our site. It is probably not the best example of what anybody can do with Squarespace, but it's a good example of what two people with absolutely no idea what they're doing can do with Squarespace. Okay, back to the run.
Okay, so quite exciting. We've come down off the other side of the hill. We are now about 2 kilometers from the halfway point, and if we get there within 15-20 minutes, we'll be bang on track. 3 hours, so halfway, bang on track for a 6-hour time, which would be awesome. And it's all downhill, so we might well do it. Okay, this corner here is pretty much halfway, and we are at 2 hours 59. Because we were 1 minute up on our target. 3 hours halfway, 6 hours the whole thing. Nixon's feeling good. Jen's feeling amazing. Feeling amazing?
No.
Jen's feeling amazing. Okay, so as we start second half, probably about 3 hours of running to go, or 3 hours of moving to go. Everything feels alright. Dog's doing good. I feel alright. My toes are wrecked from coming down that hill, but everything else is okay. Plenty of water now, refilled at the checkpoint. Hungry, but then she left her food in the car, so that's to be expected.
So the second half of this run is broken down into a long, steady climb, which is tough. A lot of it is steep enough to make running really hard work, but not so steep that walking is the only option. So psychologically, you're permanently thinking, oh, I should really be going faster than I am. And then a final climb with a really steep descent, pretty much all the way back to the finish.
Okay, while we're doing this little slow hill climb here, I'm going to take the opportunity to review Jenna's sporting background. How often do you run?
With high rocks training and Spartan training about 3 times a week.
Hang on. She just said, since I started high rocks training and Spartan training. When did you start that?
Last week.
Last week. Okay, before last week, I would say, well, actually, we'll go back to her Garmin history. But I'm going to guess, I mean, if you added it all together, if it averaged 5k a week, I'd be surprised.
Yeah, so yeah.
What would your 5k time be right now? Could you break half an hour?
I think it'd kill me, but I could maybe break half an hour.
Possibly break half an hour on a 5k.
The other day I did 3k at 5:50 pace and my heart rate was 170 the whole way.
Okay, she ran 3k the other day, nearly died.
You're not gonna die.
She'd probably break half an hour for park run if she was lucky at the moment. What's your park run PB? 28?
27 something?
20, nearly 28 minutes PB on park run. Goes in the gym 2 or 3 times a week. Walks the dogs every day. Eats well. I would say you are fitter than the average person.
So I looked up Jen's recent running history. Right at the end of December, that 10k hilly race that I mentioned, then 1 2-kilometre jog in February, 4 kilometres once a week in March, and 3 kilometres 3 times in April. So less than 30k this year before this run. I've done more tidying up around the house than Jen's done running.
Okay, so that's Jen's history. Oh, and when you were a child, were you a competitive athlete when you were a child?
I used to be,
I don't know why she's pausing, because the answer is no.
hang on, I was like #1 for the 100 meters. I could sprint. And I came 10th in cross country when I was like 9 years old.
Jen went to school in Cirencester, so 8 kids in your school.
800.
How many of them weren't farmers?
So I did win, welly wanging.
Okay, there you go. That sums up Jen's schooling. Welly wanging. If you're American, God help you. Don't Google it. Get the FBI break down your door. Yeah, Jen won welly wanging and 100 metres. What happened with the hay baling? They don't let girls do hay baling.
I just remember welly wanging.
Jen does not have a sporting background. Okay, flat ground. We gonna run?
Let's run.
Gonna run.
Need to run?
Do you know what's annoying is if we had some wellies, we could just wang them, but didn't bring any. Probably left them back in the car with your food.
Right, that climb was very long and very tedious, but what was amazing was that Jen did run up a lot of it, and after we crested over the top, she ran down it, and again ahead of me. This is 25 kilometres in, over 4 hours of running, and she's gone.
Okay, awesome result. We've got 9k to go. That is a quarter of the way left based on our target of 6 hours. That means we'd want to be doing that last quarter in 1.5 hours, and we're at 4 hours 20, which means if we take 1.5 hours, we still come in sub 6, which is awesome. I told Jen, because she's so much faster on these downhill sections, don't wait for me, just go. She's gone. I'm not sure I'm going to catch her on the uphill before the big downhill, so I might not see her again. This might actually be the last time I see her until the finish. Bloody welly wanger, she's over there.
I caught her up, saved by a stone being in her shoe. And then onto the last hill, which had not looked that bad. When I was looking at the Garmin map, it looked like a small bump. That's what I was telling Jen. It wasn't a small bump, it was nasty.
Okay, we're just coming up to the last hill, and it looks like it's up that, which is a bit of a bigger hill than I thought it might be. That looks horrible. Oh my God, full summit. I thought this was the top. That's the top. That's brutal. Oh my God. She won't be happy when she sees that. Okay, we're over the top. It is now 4.8k park run, cheeky park run, and it's all downhill in a second. And we got 55 minutes to do it, to go sub 6. No problem at all. Okay, here we go. Over the top. You feeling good? Double thumbs up. Man, I hate running downhill.
Downhill, and this last descent before the short run to the finish line was a moment of two realizations for me. First of all, I realised that I was going to have to destroy my legs and my feet. I told Jenna to run at a comfortable speed for her, to get to the finish. I said, don't wait for me. But she can never tell if I actually mean that or if I'm just doing my best Richard Dreyfuss impression.
Don't wait for me.
Anyway, what I wanted to do was go slowly down the hill so I could save my legs, my quads, and my toes and my feet, because in 2 weeks I'm racing at Hyrox. But she was going to have probably 15 minutes on me at the bottom, and the bottom is only a very short distance to the actual finish line. I know she's going to wait for me, despite me saying, don't wait for me. And I don't want to be the reason that she compromises her overall time. So I have to just destroy myself to try and catch her up. And the second realization, as she is disappearing and loving running down this hill, she sums up my above average message on this channel better than I do right now. I've said from the start on here that a modest amount of training will push you past the point where most people exist to a place that is above average. Who wants to be down here and this end is just far too hard? This is obviously the middle. You want to be here. It is the sweet spot, it is the fun spot, and it is really easy to get to. Sweet, fun, easy. Doesn't mean you're winning stuff, but equally you aren't having to do the exponential amount of effort and training and commitment that is done by people who do want to win stuff. Now we're on track here to break 6 hours in this race. If it was just me and Nixon and we really wanted to push it and just forget Hyrox, we'd have been looking for a time probably just under 4 hours. We'd have run faster on every flat section, we would have walked nothing except the hills, and we'd have walked up the hills faster. But I train all the time, a couple of times a day, and I focus extensively on what I eat, what I don't eat. I put a massive amount of effort into all of it. I'm not remotely elite, but the very nature of doing this for a job and it being such a huge part of my life does inevitably mean that I am probably above average. Jen just eats sensibly most of the time, makes sure she gets a good amount of sleep every night. She focuses on having a low stress lifestyle. She goes to the gym. She walks the dogs every day. Basically, she puts in a modest amount of effort and that keeps her just above average fitness. So if you follow this channel and you take your training really seriously and you're motivated by me trying to push myself the way that you might do yourself, then that is great. I hope you are inspired to keep doing so. Whether you are physically trying to be where I am, or you're already where I am, or you're massively ahead of where I am right now. But if you follow this channel because you are where I started my journey, way below average, and you're simply excited to get to a better place, to be in a place where you can play with your kids without getting out of breath, or walk into the gym without feeling self-conscious, or like this, sign up for a physical challenge that is just outside your comfort zone, but know you can turn up and do perfectly okay and enjoy it, then your inspiration should be the one that's buggering off into the distance in a pair of road shoes because she likes the colour of them more than her trail shoes, and fueled by jelly babies because she left her food in the car.
Okay, 2k to go. I did not expect to be running like a lunatic, chasing down my wife with 2k to go. I can see her. I think it's her. Jesus, I hope it's her. I can't even think. Oh man. Oh man. Oh man, jeez. Okay. Okay, 1.8 kilometers to go, and it is 5 hours 28, so we are way inside 6. We're gonna walk for a bit, and we're gonna crank out the last kilometer like it's nothing, aren't we? Don't say any more than that. Get pulled up for copyright by Stallone. Okay, we got just over 1 kilometer to go. 5 hours 35. We might even break 5:45 at this rate. Our only concern is not getting overtaken with a kilometer to go. Jen has promised me she won't let that happen. Okay, those guys are jogging. They look tired too, babe, but they're jogging. She's jogging. Okay, we're jogging. It's very important to run your own race and don't worry about other people. Isn't it?
Really?
I told Jen a while back she should imagine people coming up behind are the zombies. She said she'd rather be a zombie. And the other one.
And that was it. 80 runners finished, 3 did not, and we got 56th and 57th. 5 hours 43, not the last humans, and Nixon wasn't even the last dog. Not that it would have mattered at all if we were, but nice that we weren't. I was genuinely impressed. And almost not so much by Jen in particular, just that the human body, if reasonably well looked after, can be chucked into a challenge like this, so far beyond what it's used to, and still get the job done. It really is a reminder, and this is stating the obvious, we should look after ourselves. And then challenges that do come along, inevitably, whether they're self-inflicted, like this, or not, stressful times in your life, global pandemics, whatever, you'll negotiate those so much better. If you don't want to, there's no need to be above average. That's just becoming a hobby. But not being the right side of average when you could be, that is unnecessarily leaving yourself exposed. It's like having a perfectly good car on the drive with 4 flat tyres. What a waste, and what a liability when you urgently need to get somewhere and can't. Interestingly, this year Jen is begrudgingly going to be doing her first ever Spartan race and her first ever Hyrox, which I've convinced her to do because, selfishly, I like the idea of her being a little bit closer to me on the bell curve than where she currently is. But this run has made me realise she is already in a perfectly good place. She's 33. When I was 33, I was a car with no wheels. Forget flat tyres. I could not jog for 1 minute straight. That was a shortcoming that did need changing. Jenna not being keen on doing Spartan and Hyrox is not a shortcoming at all. Luckily, she never watches the videos, so I don't need to actually tell her that. She makes me do so much pointless tidying up around the house that I'm going to spend all summer making her practice monkey bars. Right, I hope you found it enjoyable. If you did, drop it a like, hit the subscribe button, and for behind the scenes stuff or to get in touch, go over to my Patreon page. And a huge thanks if you're already there supporting the channel that way. Okay, I'll see you guys on the next one.